Hello, tonight we're speaking with Larry Hampton, and my name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and Larry, you're the guitar player for two tribute bands based out of LA here. The first being Mick Adams and the Stones, and I understand you also are in the Who Revue. So I was curious, which band were you in first?
Actually, the Who Revue, I got in about almost 2 years ago now.
Oh, okay.
And Mick Adams is actually, I just got in that band about, my first show was just a month or so ago, about 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm new in that one.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Who Revue, since that's the one you've been in the longest.
Sure.
First, most people might ask, why go the route of a tribute band rather than being a band where you play your own original, music and record it?
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your story there?
Well, I've actually been playing for, 35 years now, and I've been in every conceivable type of band, originals, cover bands that play a spectrum of different kinds of music. And just recently, like I said, in the last couple of years, I've been in a tribute band. I think, the appeal to me was just that, I like the idea of doing something. Well, let me think about this a little bit. It's an interesting question because I also really enjoy doing cover bands where we do all kinds of music.
Yeah.
But I saw an ad in Craigslist, believe it or not, for a band looking for a Pete Townsend.
Okay.
And I wasn't necessarily looking to be in a tribute band at that time, but that kind of struck me because I loved the Who growing up.
Oh wow, yeah. Who doesn't?
And I thought, that could be fun, but I'm not really sure if I want to commit to that because I understand that a tribute band is quite different than a cover band in that.
Yeah.
They go about looking into doing the costuming and of course the equipment and all that kind of stuff, and of course you're learning only one band's music, and so it's a bit of a different animal in that respect. So I took about 2 weeks and thought about it, and I thought, well, what's the harm? It couldn't hurt. It might be interesting to see how it goes. And, I called Joey, who's the lead singer, and talked to him for a bit. And it ended up I got the gig, so I started doing it back then, and I've actually really enjoyed it. Like I say, it's a concentration on one band. And,
Yeah.
And so that it's a bit different in that respect, but it's something kind of fun about it. And you really dive into who they are and what they were about, and you learn a lot about it, and it's just it's been a lot of fun, actually.
And let me tell you, Larry, kind of what my experience is with this is I'm kind of more of a from the fan perspective, and the thing, what my experience has been going to a lot of these tribute shows is you'll probably have experienced yourself. There's a huge misconception out there. A lot of people are under the misconception that guys such as yourselves are playing tribute bands. Oh, they're failed musicians. They couldn't make it doing their own thing. But I got to tell people, somebody that's seen a lot of these tribute acts, that's really not the case, because it's more, like you said, it's more of it goes into than you get up and doing Who songs. Like even looking at the pictures on your Facebook, you look the part of Pete Townsend, when he was younger and all. And, if I came to see your show, I'd probably enjoy it because, like you said, I'm as big of a Who fan as you probably are. Who doesn't love all those classic Who songs? Those are great tunes, and they're still being played on the radio today and everything. 50 years after, the Who first formed. So, let me, like you said, there's a huge difference too between doing a cover band and a tribute band. So, what have you enjoyed the most about what you guys do?
Well, I'd like to speak a little bit about something you said that I thought was interesting about people who kind of have a critical eye toward it. I understand that. I think I had that probably myself, a few years back. And, I think back when I was really young, there was Beatlemania, and there was all sorts of Elvis impersonators, and I never kind of quite got the appeal of it. But it seems like the last several years, this has, maybe the last couple of years especially, this has really come and grown tremendously. And, my experience with, the players and people that I associate with, a lot of the guys from World's Greatest Tribute Bands, the Who Revue actually played in the third week first season, so we were on that show too. And, everybody that I've been involved with has been, top notch in terms of how good they are, kind of the level of professionalism.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is really key, and this would go for the cover
Yeah, yeah.
Queen fan, Rush fan. Yeah. We were moved. We were moved in a certain way, and I think the tribute guys, really endeavor to sort of to carry on that torch, not so much to live off the backs or the names of the artists themselves, but purely out of a love for the music and a desire to share that feeling again with fans of like-minded, like-minded fans and stuff. And so I think that's really a key to why we do what we do. It's not so much just to go out and make a buck, but mostly to share that experience with one another.
Yeah, and the best example of that, what I can tell you from my experience, when I first started going to see these tribute acts, one of the first bands I seen was Hollywood Rose, which is a great Guns N' Roses tribute out of Hollywood, and the singer Colby Vale, he looks exactly identical to Axl Rose 1987 era. And first time I seen those guys live, I had to pinch myself. I was almost even though I seen them at the Whiskey, I almost forgot for a minute that, hey, is this a Guns N' Roses show? I forgot where I was for a minute, and you guys probably get the same thing with what you do. That you can give your audience a magical experience. Because again,
you totally got it. You nailed it on the head. That's what we're shooting for. Good tribute bands will achieve that. Because of it's like anything that gets popular. You get an explosion of good and not so good. But the thing is, when you get a really elite level tribute band, you can. I don't know if you've seen what's Afghan or Queen Nation or which one's Pink or those guys. And some of the guys, just note for note, if you close your eyes, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And it's remarkable, and it brings back this excitement, and you can tell they're having as good a time as you are. And so I've had people tell me, like I remember my girlfriend went and saw Van Halen a few times when she was a kid, and said, I went and saw Atomic Punks, and it was like better than Van Halen, because when I saw Van Halen, David Lee Roth was stumbling around drunk, and he couldn't remember the words and all this stuff. It was kind of a disappointment.
Yeah.
So it's like actually going out to see, a Van Halen level band, but actually getting to see them like at their prime, at their peak, really hitting on all cylinders. So sometimes it's even better.
Yeah. The thing about a band like the Who Revue is like, the Who are kind of there's talk that this is their farewell tour. We're not going to be doing it much longer. The guys, Roger and Pete, they're getting kind of up there in age, and so. They don't even tour as frequently as they used to. And my point is, for people lucky enough to go see the Who, not everyone can afford, a $100 or $200 ticket. And that's the great thing about going to see a band like the Who Revue. You guys are kind of, you put on that good of a show that, you're the next best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's more affordable, and it's a lot of us that are based in the Southern California area. There has become sort of, especially since the advent of the TV show, the World Series Tribute Bands, there's become sort of let's say a little community. There's people that come see bands that are kind of on the outskirts, but there's also a little core of fans that go and support all their bands. So you get a little more of a sense of community than you would, showing up at the Forum or the Honda Center or whatever, and sort of being in a big cavern of a venue. You start seeing your friends show up.
Yeah.
So it becomes a pretty fun, event.
Yeah, there's almost a kinship among the bands, and I'm glad you brought that up, because another thing I've experienced, as far as the tribute scene goes, is a networking that goes on with all of you guys. I know guys that, like, there's this guy Gar Boris. Again, he does Axl Rose. He's got a band, Appetite for Destruction, and he's been doing the tribute thing for so long. But besides booking his own bands, he's now gotten into booking other bands, and he puts on his own shows, promotes his own shows. And when he needs opening bands, he calls up guys he knows of other tribute bands. Hey, we need some opening bands for our show. You guys like to get on the bill? And I think that's really great, because as opposed to if you were in like original rock band, there's more competition going on where we're gonna our album's gonna outsell theirs or whatever.
Absolutely.
And I really dig that about the tribute scene.
There's a built-in humility that comes with being a tribute band, because you know that you didn't write these songs.
Yeah.
And that that your approach is that you're a fan. Now there's good and bad people in every aspect of life.
Yeah, of course.
My experience has been what you said exactly. Is there's been a level of humility and fraternity, kind of a kinship there with one another. and affiliate with, are supportive of one another. We go to the same shows, we go to each other's shows, we hang out together watching, at the whiskey when they're doing the World's Greatest Tribute Band live broadcast. We're all there.
Yeah.
Supporting the band and that kind of thing. And I tell you, it's a really, really neat thing. I feel very privileged to be part of that community because, at least with the guys that I'm familiar with, they're all, not only are they top-notch people, but they're top-notch musicians as well. And it's been it's really fun. And
let me ask you, Larry, now talking a little bit about the World's Greatest Tribute, which that's kind of what I would say the pinnacle, especially out here in LA, as far as the tribute scene. I mean, a lot of you guys have gone on that show. So, first of all, how did you guys get the opportunity to appear on that show?
Well, Joey, the lead singer, is the guy that kind of books on the band. So he somehow, I think Katie Darrell got in touch with him. I'm not sure exactly how that came to be.
Okay.
But we were one of the first to be asked. We played the third week of the first season. Mick Adams and his original band, his previous band, the Ultimate Stones, they were on the second week, so we followed them up. It's kind of funny that I got in his band.
Wow.
Right afterwards. But it was kind of a thing that we heard. Joey called me up one day and said, "Hey, they're doing some documentary on tribute bands. They want to film some TV show." And it was very vague and nebulous at the time. I don't think we really understood what we were getting into.
Yeah.
So we showed up when we played. It was at the Roxy, and they had the whole thing in it, the mobile recording truck out in the back, and tons of cameras and all this stuff going on, and so we did our show, and it was a really fun thing, and it's just continued to grow since then. So yeah. And
so, talk about being on that TV show, because I would imagine, you guys are just kind of starting to make a name for yourselves, and then you get on this TV show. Have you seen the band really, really grow since then, and really people kind of start, contacting you guys as a result of being on that TV show?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Who Revue has gone through a couple of iterations in terms of its membership. So it's been around. I think the entity's been around for several years, and Joey's kind of been the main guy. He was in other bands, and the other three guys in the band were all in other Who tribute bands at various times. I'm the most recent guy to come in the band. I guess in the last couple of years, and in fact, my second show with them was the Access TV show. So I was pretty new into it when that happened. And I think there's no question that the visibility of the band is enhanced, and the credibility, because you're getting sort of vetted by TV professionals and music professionals that are going through and looking at video and listening to stuff, and they're not going to put anybody on there that they don't think is going to put together a pretty good show. So I think there's a validation that occurs as well. I mean, being labeled the world's greatest tribute band is obviously, in the tribute community, you can't get much higher than that, but at least I'm not aware of anything that's higher accolade than that. I don't let it go to my head. I'll just go out there and work and do your thing, and it was a nice sort of kind of a pat in the back, but we still just feel like we're just regular guys out there doing our thing, and but yeah, like I say, there's no question that there's definitely a level of visibility and I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of
it's kind of like to even be chosen for that show. I mean, they got to think you're at you've got to reach a certain level, kind of a pinnacle, and they think you're hey, if these guys are that good that they deserve to be on our TV show. And
there's a validation, right? Yeah. Of what you're doing, right? Absolutely.
And now talk about too, when you're on the show. I was curious. You guys are obviously used to perform. You perform plenty of times on stage, no doubt about it. But did you feel any extra pressure when you're on stage? Were you aware of a red light on the camera? Hey, it's recording. Were you at all thinking about that?
Interesting. I think yes. I think especially a little bit for me in more of an enhanced level, since it was such an early gig for me, and that but they one commercial break. So you have exactly 54 minutes to play. And so you've got to design your set that, in such a way, and of course you have 54 minutes of material, and, there's not a whole lot of room for, mistakes or, broken string or anything like that. So there was a pressure to make sure that, because it was live,
Yeah.
that, everything was tuned, everything was ready to go, and that it was going to come off in a way that was a cool show, but it also fit into their format. So it was a little bit of a interesting, different, set of things to think about.
And when you're doing a show like that, I was curious, recording on live TV, did that 54 minutes go by really fast? I mean, like, once that red light went on, did it seem like, the whole set list came and went?
Yeah, it's like that with sometimes anytime you perform, there's things that you're, like, there's little landmarks along the way, like, okay, as a player, when I get to this song, I need to put this guitar on, and I do this, we had to have it down so methodical, that we knew exactly what we were going to do, and while I did this, he was going to say something, so it was, it wouldn't look awkward and those kinds of things. And then, so there's times when, like, a lot of the time I'm thinking, especially, like I say, being so early on in the band, I want to make sure I didn't make a mistake, which I did make one pretty big mistake, but it went by pretty quick, and I don't think that was that noticeable. But, you're making sure you don't want to blow it, but you got to remember that you got to get into the music, too. You got to feel the music, you got to present the music in a way that's exciting and that kind of thing. I think the one thing that was, definitely the climax to the show for me was, I actually smashed the guitar at the very end.
Wow.
So,
how cool is that?
and I was last Gene, and it was the first time I ever smashed something like that. And a friend of mine, there's actually, we played with a keyboard player who's been in bands all his life, and he goes, hey, just so you know, you need to make sure you smash that thing right, otherwise you'll break your wrist.
Wow.
So I was a little nervous about that, too. So, you think about things like, okay, I got to smash this guitar now. There's things that you're thinking about ahead.
Yeah.
That, when you're kind of just doing a regular show and you're doing your routine and you know what's going to happen, you can relax a little more in those situations. But on a TV show, you want to just go just right. So it was interesting.
And what was that like breaking?
Show, for sure.
What was that like breaking the guitar? I mean, like you said, it's the first time you did something like that. I mean, to even break a guitar, that must take a lot of physical energy.
Well, yeah, and I admittedly, he kind of got to me a little bit. I was a little concerned because, I can't afford to have broken wrists. I got a job to do.
Yeah.
And so I kind of strategically, how I was going to do that. Before I broke it, I took the guitar and I threw it in the air.
Yeah.
Try to weaken it a little bit. And then I stomped on it once just to, kind of, again, weaken it some. And by the time I went down to pick it up, I got splinters in my hand because the neck was starting to fray, and I just finished it off with a big, smash on the ground. So it was cool. I kind of, again, was strategic about how I wanted to weaken the body of it before I went ahead and gave it the death blow.
Wow, yeah. Pete Townsend, he's one of my favorite players and songwriters and stuff, and being playing his stuff, like what's that like for you? Because again, you're you and the singer probably are the two guys that the cameras on the most, and even people going to see the show, you're the two guys that people are watching. So what's that like for you?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I don't get too caught up in who's looking at me and that kind of thing. I just know that I try to get myself into the character because I've described it this way, and a lot of the guys I talk to, it's almost like musical theater.
Yeah.
It's different than a cover band. You're just playing the songs. You show up in your jeans and whatever, and play your gear, and it's no big deal. You're not trying to be anybody, right? But in a band like the Who or the Stones, or any of those top bands, like you sort of become you're sort of an actor and a musician.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And I think the best way to do it is to try. One thing thing that does happen when you learn these songs is you sort of take on the character of how that guitar player plays. I mean, he has a certain approach. In both Townsend and Richards, both have sort of an FU, kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Playing, but they kind of come at it from different angles. Like, I mean, Townsend's very much a basher and a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
He's a very aggressive and rough, and whereas Keith is more of a guy who's just more of a, I don't give a crap. I'm going to do what I want to do, and you like it or not, this is me, And I think they both have that to a degree, but they both come at it from such a different level and or a different angle. And so, learning to in my experience, when I do the tribute thing, when I was just hired, for example, to do the Keith thing, you spend the first 6 weeks to 8 weeks or more learning the music, and you want to get the music down just right. And then I spend the rest of my time learning the stick. How does he move? What are some of his signature moves? How does he kind of, I mean, you probably know that, how Johnny Depp, kind of studied Keith Richards for the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. He wants to kind of get that flavor, that kind of brash, personality. And I mean, I didn't do that. Watch the movie, but I mean, there's an element of that. You're sort of trying to clothe yourself in that personality. And sometimes it's tough because, there's certain times in the Stones when I've gotten real excited and I wanted to jump up and do the Pete Townsend thing. And I had to stop thinking to myself, no, I gotta stay in character. I gotta stay in the Keith Richards thing. And do something he would do. So, I'm still perfecting Keith Richards. I think I got Pete down pretty well.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. It's fun. I think you learn a lot about them as people as well.
Yeah.
Not only when you learn their music, but when you learn how they play their music.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying about being in character and stuff, and on that I'd like to ask you, for example, when you guys do a show like with the Who Revue, and you get in your costume, and you're dressed up before you go on stage, you kind of get in that that attitude or whatever, if you will, Pete is in the house, and when you come off stage, it's like, oh, I'm Larry again, or.
Well, part of that, because I've been playing for so long, it's easier to switch hats because you never really lose who you are. I think maybe the guys who are really, I mean, I'm not really an actor by trade, so I've had to learn to become sort of an actor, but I've never really lose who I am. So even in the midst of doing all those crazy jumps and smashing guitars or whatever it is I'm doing, I kind of it's a great question because there's such a dual thing happening.
I hear that.
You're you and you're conscious of you, but you're also letting yourself be taken away by the moment.
Exactly.
There's a lot of real exciting Who songs, as you know. There's parts that just really charge you up. Make you go, this is awesome. And you gotta let yourself be taken over by those parts because I think when people see you having a good time or getting excited about the music, I think that brings them up a level as well. So there's an element of you're performing for them, but you're also really just allowing yourself to be moved by the music as well. So that's why I go back to what I said earlier about experiencing it together. You're sort of experiencing it with your bandmates, of course,
Yeah.
and then you're experiencing it yourself, and then you're bringing that experience to the crowd, and they're reflecting back to you, whether they yell or scream or whatever, high five, there's definitely that element of that reflection back to you, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
Oh yeah, and the great thing to me too, you talk about the attitude of all these great classic Who songs. I mean, one that instantly comes to mind is "Won't Get Fooled Again." There's just that scream in there where
Absolutely. That's
it gets
one
the crowd.
of the highlights of the entire show, and I think that's one of the greatest moments in rock and roll. I mean, recorded rock and roll. I think, I always say that probably to me is the greatest, most spine-tingling, rock scream ever recorded. And then you follow that up with one of the most iconic lines in rock and roll, and "Meet the New Boss." The old boss. It's just a little.
It's just like when you
rock and roll.
It's just like every time I hear that song, it's just yeah.
Of rock and roll, right there. So that definitely comes across. That's a showstopper right there.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones where you'll see me jumping high on the air, and the singer just screaming his guts out, and people just it's just a magical moment.
I mean that scream. Every time I hear that song, it just gets me off, and it's something that they didn't even plan. They just were in the studio and kind of rock it out, and it just kind of happened. And another great Who song I love is Bab O'Reilly, for the simple fact it starts off with that that simple keyboard riff, and then it kicks into what it does.
Yeah, and the first hit, guitar hit in that one is the perfect opportunity for one of those windmills. So I often do a windmill at that point, and again, it just there's just those iconic moves that Pete does, that it just fit in certain places, and people I think expect it, and sometimes it's unexpected, but they appreciate the attention to detail that we bring, not only with our moves and stuff like that, but also with the execution of the music, and the buying of the getting the right gear and stuff like that. I'm still working on getting some more gear for the Keith Richards gig. Because I'm so new into it, but there's definitely an appreciation that people have, because a lot of those people that are going to pay money to come see you, they're fans. They know the music back and forth. You might have people come along that are just along for the ride, but a lot of those guys, they came because they saw the Who, or they wanted to see the Who. They loved the Who, and you're bringing it to them just the way that the Who actually did it. And so there's definitely an appreciation that happens there, and I think it's really important, especially for me and the guys in the band who are musicians, because even if the crowd doesn't know, we know, and we want. I think part of it too, Jason, is like it's not only carrying on the legacy of those bands, but to me, in a way, it's paying respect to that band.
Oh yeah, totally.
So appreciative of what they brought, all the joy that they brought me in my life, that I want to present that as and bring that to other people, and just pay respect.
Oh, totally. I mean, like you said, you take a typical cover band that gets up on stage and they play all kinds of covers. You guys are dedicating what you do to the Who, and that shows that you guys have that much respect for these guys, that we're going to play nothing but Who material, when we get up on stage, and that's a really great thing. And then there's also the fact you guys got kind of a built-in audience. I mean, people come to see the Who Revue. They know what they're going to get. They know they're going to hear "Won't Get Fooled Again" and "Join Together" and all those My Generation, all those great songs. And then on the flip side, you've got people that maybe have heard all these classic songs on the radio, but they had no idea. Who sings that song? I've heard that song a million times. Oh, that's who did it. In a way, you're giving musical education people that, I've heard these songs, but I had no idea who did them.
Absolutely, that happens a lot with the Who, actually. Especially like songs like "Squeeze Box" and stuff like that. People are like, "Oh, that's the Who." But one of the things that we've had that even some of the promoters that promote shows, people that are doing some of the higher some venues. I don't want to say exactly here, but even some of them, they'll say, well, what songs did the Who have? I'm thinking, as far as I know, the Who had like 28 top 40 hits. I mean, they're like, they've got a huge catalog of songs that some people just don't even really realize, all the hits that they had. So there's definitely, that's something that can be a roadblock to getting gigs every once in a while. Because if you have you mentioned Guns N' Roses, or you have a Motley Crue, or a Led Zeppelin, and there's no question they've got or Beatles, for example, just hit after hit, and Stones as well. And everybody knows, but you get the Who, or for some reason, I don't know why, it seems to me everybody would know that, but the Who, you get some others, maybe Pink Floyd, some of these other ones, you go, do they really have that many hits? And we played for 2 hours, and it's just hit after hit,
And that's pretty amazing to hear, because I mean, the simple fact is, like I said earlier, Townsend's getting up in age, and he's probably not going to be. This might be his last tour they do. I understand, and but he could just live off of songwriting royalties for the rest of his life.
Right.
He's got. I mean, they still got stuff, on all these soundtracks and TV shows. It's just amazing, and so I was curious. What's your favorite Who? Do you have a favorite Who song or album?
Yeah, it's tough. I've evolved. I mean, I think my favorite Who album would probably be Who's Next.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think, and it sounds crazy, because it seems obvious, but just the energy from Won't Get Fooled Again, I can never shake that. That to me has always been...
I hear you, man. I hear you.
The absolute epic. And so that to me, it just encapsulates all of the greatness of the Who. I mean, I also love The Real Me. There's just a bunch of songs that I love. There's nothing that competes with Won't Get Fooled, for me anyways.
And then as far as, another set of albums that is always mentioned is, Tommy and Quadrophenia, these like rock operas and stuff. Which one of those do you kind of tend to lean more towards?
I'm more of a Quadrophenia guy.
Okay.
I just think that's probably, some people think that's sort of the pinnacle of the Who, and, like the bass player, and I think maybe both the bass player and the drummer in our band, that's their favorite albums. It's just, I think that to me is just, that album's totally epic. I mean, Tommy obviously is as well, but it seems like, the Quadrophenia was more of a perfection of that, and Tommy was kind of it kind of opened the door to that rock opera thing, but Quadrophenia kind of...
And talking about Quadrophenia, I was curious if you had a chance to see the recent DVD they put out, the Who Live in London, Quadrophenia.
No, I haven't. I think I caught a little bit of the end of it. I caught a little bit of the end of it on TV. I think it might have been Access, if I'm not mistaken.
It's really cool. You should check it out. I mean, and then they got some bonus performances, and they even released a CD of it, like a soundtrack.
Has it been released?
Yeah, you can get it at Best Buy or wherever. But I was just saying, I really...
I'm definitely going to check that out, because what I saw was awesome. But yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing yet. Yeah, no.
And then,
my last, let's see, what am I? Out of my last 2 or 3 months, man, I've had my head completely in the Stones.
Of course.
Because we had a couple of gigs come up in June, and I think I had only about 6 weeks to get ready for that. So, we were learning like 20-something songs, and so we really had it. And it wasn't just me. The Ronnie Wood in the band was also new. So we had 2 new guitar players.
Wow.
Trying to figure out which, who's going to do what and that kind of thing. So I had my head in the Stones for about 3 or 4 months. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. On that note, I'd like to ask, we've been talking a little bit about the Who Revue now, and you said you recently just joined up with, Mick Adams and the Stones. So I guess the next logical question would be, how exactly did you hook up with them and get the gig?
Yeah, great question. Going back to what I was saying earlier about that sort of kind of collegial, relationship we've developed over time, I was at the Whiskey watching, I can't remember which band it was. It was about mid-season at the Access TV show. We all hang out. And, I talked to Kenny Metcalf, who does the Elton in the early years. And we just chatted about what we were doing. And I said, the Who Revue hasn't been playing very often lately because the singer, he lives in Vegas, so it's a little bit tougher to get, schedules to work out, and he's got ways to go. And so we were just chatting about that.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, like later, I don't know if it was that same night or if it was maybe the next week or whatever it was, but Mick came up to me with his wife and said, "Hey, I heard you hadn't been doing much, and would you consider maybe doing, trying out to do the Keith Richards thing?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" He says, "Give it a shot." It was pretty informal like that, but it was just having sort of being in that situation, with those guys and just having a relationship with them. Part of it, it's people seeing that you're a good guy, that you're not crazy or flaky or anything like that, or a major drug addict or anything like that. And part of it's just, I think, you do your due diligence, you talk to one another, you talk to, guys that know, is he a good player, can you do this, is he available? And so just being in that mix, I think word gets around, and that's how it happens. It was very informal. Let's try it, and then went down. And with them, and that was it.
And then the cool thing about that is, you didn't even have to really audition because he's seen you probably perform before, even
Right.
videos, and he's got that, because even to get up and do Who songs, that's another thing I respect about guys like you. People can say what they want about tribute or cover bands, but I'm not even a musician myself. I couldn't even play a lick on the guitar. So the fact that you can even jump up on the stage and play all these classic rock songs that somebody else wrote and performed, there's a certain level of talent right there that you got to have.
Yeah, you do. The thing about being in cover bands for years prior to the tribute band, I think was a good education because again, my ethic is always to do the best I can, to be the best I can. I don't really compete with other people. I kind of compete with myself.
Oh, there you go.
Just to try,
yeah.
just to try to be better than I was yesterday. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And in doing cover bands, you're learning the licks and all the arrangements and all from all these other bands. And even when I was in my last cover band, I was the lead singer as well. So
wow.
the guitar player and the singer. So you're learning, a good cross section of different songs. It's almost like learning different languages. You're just learning how they approach things. You're listening to the music. You're trying to emulate exactly the notes that they're doing and stuff like that. So it was a good education for me to prior to getting into a tribute band because I think the level of expectation in tribute bands to be more precise is higher. And I mean, you can kind of go into a cover band or a bar and mess around. And people, I never did that, but I know people that do. And you get you get the flavor of it, you get the sense of it, of the song, and people are joining in with you and whatever. But with the tribute, you're especially if you're going to be on a TV show, for crying out loud. But you're really going to look for the precision of the actual notes and those kinds of things. And so the cover thing was good because it gave me, I was learning solos from all kinds of, Rush and Journey and Queen and Zeppelin and Van Halen and, Free and Boston and Styx. There's all these kinds of different bands, and I'm learning how they play. And of course, just having played myself in my own style for so many years. But yeah, it's good education. And I can see how those two kind of dovetail into one another,
Yeah, and I imagine, even getting up on stage and performing Who or Rolling Stone tunes, it helps also keep your musical chops up. In fact, the fact that you're constantly getting up on stage and doing these songs, and keeps you always playing. So that's another good thing. Now, talking a little bit about joining Mick Adams and the Stones, I was curious. Okay, talking about the Who Revue, like we were saying, Pete Townsend of the Who, they're a little more high energy than and Stones on the flip side are a little more laid back. It's a little more poppier stuff. So was that? Did you have to really get yourself in a different headspace, if you know what I mean?
For the Keith Richards thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's still a little bit of a struggle because there's such different personalities. It's and the other thing, it's in a weird way, it's made a bit easier by learning Keith's music because I never really learned much Rolling Stones music prior to being in the band. I think I knew a couple of tunes, but it was more, because we'd learned them for the cover band. So, again, I was singing a lot of stuff, so it wasn't like I was trying to, mimic the shtick,
Yeah.
But once I had to really, immerse myself in that music, it helped me to, feel how you sort of get a flavor for their personality as you're learning how they approach music. So the more I got into it, the easier it was to get that shtick. Now the tough part for me right now is, again, since I'm so early into the Stones thing, is to make sure I stay in character.
Yeah.
Because when I get excited about the music, I tend to want to gravitate toward the Pete thing right now.
Yeah.
So pull the reins back.
Wow, that must be kind of tricky to do now. Now I was curious, like, have you gone to the extreme of like trying to learn how to smoke a cigarette and play on stage at the same time?
Well, the thing about that is that most of the places nowadays in California, don't really allow smoking.
Yeah.
So, Mick's wife, bought me a couple of the cigarettes that kind of, you can puff them. They're like, I don't know if they're e-cigs or whatever they are, but, you can kind of, you end up blowing just with vapor, And, I tried that the first night, and it was okay. I mean, I think if I work a little more on it, I can make it work a little bit better, but for the most part, smoking, at least in California, is kind of, off limits, so I haven't been able to do that. I kind of wish I could have. But.
Yeah. I was curious. In doing Stone songs, do you find that those songs are more blues based?
Oh yeah. And the thing about Keith too is a lot of the hits that they have. He has a certain approach to guitar that's unique. He tunes one of his guitar to what's called open G tuning, so that if you tune your guitar in such a way that if you just don't put your left hand on it at all, you just strum the strings all open, you'd be hitting a G chord. And so it creates different voicings, and most of the big hits that that you'll think of are all in that tuning, that open G tuning. So yeah, it's a little bit interesting in that regard, because most people didn't tune their guitars too terribly differently than he completely does it different, and he made kind of a living off it, because like I say, a lot of his hits are on that, with that tuning. And
so let me ask you, talking a little bit about your first show. What was that like? I mean, how do you feel it went over well?
Oh, well, the first show, to be honest with you, got rave reviews. We were at the Paula Casino down in San Diego County.
Wow, okay.
And it was the first show, and Mick did a great job, him and his wife and some other friends, putting together a kind of a media show too. So we came out, we played, and this band, the Mick Adams band, is just, and both bands are just full of just amazing players, like top-notch players. But in the Mick Adams band, we had, some video going on the screens. We had, I think there's 8 people in the band, and, costume changes and guitar changes and everything, and people they just said it was absolutely off the charts. And in fact, I hope people wouldn't mind me quoting him, but Kenny Metcalf's guitar player, Mark Sturby, went to the show and said, "Man, you guys set the standard for tribute bands with this show." And that was our first show. So.
Wow.
And our second show was the very next day at the OC Marketplace. So we had trial by fire there. But that first show was very, very well received, and it was very encouraging. The band is, like I say, top-notch players, and Mick's great at what he does. So it came together real nice. Yeah.
See again. I got to tell people. Like Mick Adams and the Stones, like you said, they're kind of a premier Stones tribute out here, and the great thing that I love is, I got to say, like you guys could just get up on stage and each do your part and put on a great Rolling Stones tribute, but he takes it to the next level. That, like he was telling me, he's like you were just saying, you guys got horn players, you got backup singers. He takes it to the whole 9 yards. He's that much. He's paid that much attention to the detail. Of what the real actual Rolling Stones do, but he's trying his best to kind of re-emulate that, if you will.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I told Mick when I first got in the band, I said, "Look, here's the thing you'll know about me is that, number one, I'll give you everything I got, because that's the only way I know how to do it. But
right.
Secondly, I feel like we owe the people who come to see us our very best in both, in the execution of the songs and how we present them, in our shtick or whatever, in the instruments that we choose to play, the songs that we choose to, the song order and all that kinds of. And the reason why is because people, they spend their money to come see us. They drive a distance to come see us.
Yeah.
They take their Saturday night out to come see us. And I feel like we owe them everything we got to say thank you for that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so, getting back to the Who Revue, I was curious. You said that you guys don't gig that much because the singer's in Las Vegas. So, is the band kind of still together? Or are you guys just waiting and seeing?
Oh yeah, no, we're still together. In fact, we're still together. We played our last gig was just about 3 weeks ago. We played the OC Marketplace.
Yeah.
It was a great show. But the next thing we got on the docket actually is we're getting ready to go in the studio with Michael Vale Blum, the producer who does the world's greatest tribute iTunes.
Oh, great.
Collections. And we're going to go in the studio, I think, on Friday actually, and start cutting some tracks for an album. So what I think we're going to do. The plan is, anyways, at this point, is to do a full album of Who songs, and it will be released as its own album, but it will also be released, I believe, under the iTunes, World's Greatest Tribute Bands,
Yeah.
It'll be kind of both. We'll have our own album to sell at gigs, and
cool.
World's Greatest will be able to, sell, via iTunes. So it's really, really kind of exciting. We're really excited about it. I was supposed to happen last Friday, but I got moved back to this Friday. So
do me a favor, Larry.
Drums and bass and maybe some guitars Friday, and we'll be taking the next few weeks to do this album. So yeah, we're even though we haven't had a ton of gigs, live gigs lately, we still are making headway and making progress. So it's exciting.
And I know a little bit about what you're talking about. Like for example, Kenny Metcalf. I was talking about. He's done that, and I understand a lot of these songs you guys are going to be recording. The ultimate goal is to try to get them into in movie and TV soundtracks for a simple fact that like for example, they have you guys record a song. It's a lot costs a lot less for people to get your version of a song in the movie as opposed to of actual Who or Rolling Stones song.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of Dan Johnson with the Which One's Pink band. He's kind of one of the guys. He's one of the real cornerstones of the Access TV and iTunes situation. Anyway, I don't
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. Yeah.
Michael Vale Blum are the guys that are kind of promoting the albums and whatnot, and they're really proactive. They're looking at. I know he works a lot with karaoke licensing and kind of stuff like that. So
cool.
Yeah, there's some really, I think, good opportunities in that sort of realm that those guys are pursuing, which I think will only serve to enhance the visibility and the reach scope of the tribute bands.
Yeah, wow. Well, do me a favor, Larry. Keep me updated and let me know when the album's finished being recorded and that. I'd like to check it out, and maybe we talk some more in detail about the songs and stuff that you guys record. I'd like to help you guys get the word out about that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, well, I know you're very busy, Larry. I won't take up any more of your time. I'd like to, though, just say it's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for taking time to do this, because I'd like to actually, like I said, maybe down the line talk to you again.